everybody, and welcome to this tutorial. Hey, I'm going to be sharing the spreadsheet that we're making in the description, and if you want to take it and use it as your own, please do, but please follow these instructions very carefully, okay? I get tons of emails requesting that I give people access, and you don't need any permission from me to do that, and I can't respond to all the emails. So if you want to use these, all you'll have to do is click the link. Once it opens up, it will be uneditable, okay? That way somebody can't go in and change it, and then for everybody else that's using it, it would be problematic. All you have to do is click on File, create a copy, okay, make a copy, and then rename it Susie's Crypto Tracker or whatever you want to call it, and click OK, and it will save a copy of this entire spreadsheet into your Google Drive, and you can use it to your heart's content. Hey, best of luck. Hello friends, and welcome to the Saitama Stacker channel. My name's Dean. I'll be your host today. Hey, in this video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I put together my reflections tracking spreadsheets. And somebody from the audience requested it, and mine is a little bit clunky, and so I thought I'd make an updated one. I'll show you how I put it together, and then I'll make it available, but if you want to make your own, you'll have all the information to do that as well. So what I've done, this is kind of like a cooking show, is I've already gone ahead and put one together, but we'll do sheet 2 and make it again so you can see the process. And then I'll show you how you can make as many of them as you want. Really, just literally, I could copy and paste this into the other sheet. But for people who want to kind of see how the gears turn behind the spreadsheets, let's just go ahead and make one. So most of this spreadsheet is just text, this whole portion here. So what I'm going to do is just copy those and paste them into the new spreadsheet so I don't have to type them in, but I could literally just type them in. So you see here's all that information. This one here is the reflections section itself, and we'll do a little bit of formatting and different things. So I said this one's going to be new and improved because my old one, some of the issues that I had with it were essentially related to the fact that I did everything by dates. So in the case that a person if you missed a day, then the whole thing was kind of off. So in this one, what I'm going to do is put days instead of dates, and then it just doesn't matter when you do it. And then of course you can add the date yourself if you want a reference point to when you last checked your reflections. That way you don't have to do it every day, and it gives you a kind of a running total of what's going on. So this whole line here I underlined, and there's just this is a borders function, and I'm just selecting the underline feature, and it put everything in its place. Now I like having things centered for the most part, so if I click this upper left button here, it's going to highlight the whole sheet, and I'm just going to center everything. So so if I want to center up everything, I can click the whole sheet and basically go to the margin or the justification and center justify everything. And that will kind of set things up for where we want to be. Now, like I say, instead of doing it by every date, I'm going to go ahead and just do it by days. So if I put in 1, 2, from here, we can just highlight these two, grab this corner box and drag it down, and I'm going to go down and take this out like 700 days. And what that will do is it will give us a couple years worth of reflections tracking, which should be enough for most people. I don't know how long people plan on holding on to projects, but in the event that it wasn't long enough, all we would have to do is extend it out. Just basically grab the corner of each cell and drag it down. So here we are, we're out 790 days. That's plenty. Okay, so on day 1, a person can put in their token count. we're going to make this whole entire cell. So places where you're going to want to input your data, I always just give them some kind of a shaded color. We'll make these ones blue just because it's a pretty color. Okay. You're going to need to input your price as well. So we'll shade that in blue. And then here in just a second, we'll get to the part where we will start putting in some formulas. So this blue shaded sections are places where we are going to be inputting our data. Okay, those are the type in these boxes. That's essentially what we're doing there. Okay, so on day one, if I had, say I had 1 million tokens. Okay, now I can see that these aren't formatted in numbers that I really like. So I'm going to essentially pick up these two and format them into a number with some commas in it. Okay, so that's a little easier to read. Just better for reference sake. Okay, then let's say on day 2, the next time I check my reflections, we've got 1,100,000. So it could be that we've been a while, or maybe it's just something that's got crazy reflections to it. So we want to go ahead and create a formula that will allow us to essentially take the new value and subtract the old value and tell us how much we have. Now, the simple way to do that would just simply be to create a formula. You put in equals, and that tells it we're putting in a formula. And we'd say this cell minus this cell. So that's C5 minus C4. Okay, so there it shows. We don't want to autofill it, but there it shows there's 100,000 in reflections from time 1 to time 2. Now, the problem with that is if I would have let it carry all the way down, it starts becoming problematic because there's no values in these boxes, and it starts spitting out stuff over here that's just messy. So we're going to use a formula that is called an if-then type formula. So if certain conditions are met over here, then we want certain outcomes over here. And what that formula looks like is right here. So it basically says if the next cell down on this side is less than 1, if there's nothing in that cell, then we're just going to have it put a 0 in the box. Okay, then it's a nice clean look. And then if there is something there, then we want to subtract it from the previous cell and give us a value output over here. So I'm going to just pop right back in over here, and we'll put that formula in instead. So equals if, and we're going to say this guy is, is less than 1. Then in quotes, we're going to tell it to just say 0, and then another comma. And so this is the then part. If it's false, if there is something there, if that's greater than 1, then we want to do this cell minus that cell, which is that original little formula I talked about. We put an end parenthesis. Okay, it's still got the same thing. But now, when I copy this one all the way down through the spreadsheet, you'll see it's going to flip a 0 into that column, and it just looks pretty. It's, I mean, it would be functional the other way, but this little conditional formula gives us, you know, a cleaner looking spreadsheet. It's not going to spit out gibberish or say that there's a flaw in the formula. You wouldn't want that. All right. So that should populate zeros all the way down. Okay, now the next day here, let's say we pick up an extra 20,000, and the next day, that's too many zeros. Way too many zeros. Okay. That would be like if we bought or sold, and we're going to fix the spreadsheet so it will handle that too. So here's just an accumulation of reflections. Now, what we want to do is we want to get a total of all of these reflections over here so we can track and see how we're doing. You know, are we getting good reflections? How much are they worth? Okay, so in this formula here, we're going to do an equal sum, and we're going to grab our reflections column here. Oop. Oh, I need a parenthesis. Okay, and we're going to grab this column and maybe just drag it down a little bit. So it's saying it's going to total up D5 through D9, but we know we have this going down to like 800. So if we just take the 9 off of that, it will essentially just say D5 through D infinity. And so you can see it's totaling all those up. As I add more here, it's adding those in as well. So we're at 450,000. Let's do another one for 70000. We'll just watch it accumulate. Okay, 470. So we've got our reflections total coming in now. Now the next piece of this we're going to want to do is get a value for those reflections. So in this price category here, you're going to need to put the price of whatever the token is that you're working with. So in this case, I'm just going to say it's token X. I've got Saitama written in here because I copied this from the last spreadsheet, but you can change that to anything you want. And this one, let's just say, for instance, it's CLE, okay? And then in the spreadsheet down here, we'll rename this tab also to CLE. And this would be our CLE tracking sheet. And you could just have as many sheets across the bottom as you want to make it work. But this isn't CLE's price, but just for our purposes today, I'm going to say 0.005. That'd be nice if that was the price. Now you see there's nothing coming in this box now. And it has to do with the fact that this is not formatted to handle that kind of a number. So we're just going to pop into format, number, and we'll pick this guy here, which gives us an infinite number of decimals. Okay, so 0.005, there's our price for this fake CLE. Okay, now if we want to know what our reflections are worth, we're going to take the total number of reflections that we have and multiply it times the price. So in this guy here, we're going to set up a formula, and that formula, so we'll say equals, we'll grab our price and multiply that by our number of reflections. Okay, so it's saying it's worth 2,300, and we want that to be in dollars. So again, we would just format this number to a rounded currency, and there you go. All right, now we want to know what our total token value is. Well, our total number of tokens are the last one, but in order to make it so we don't have to go manually input that every single day, we're going to create a formula in this cell here that just looks at this column and grabs the very last one. So this function took me a few minutes to figure out, and I didn't have it in my own spreadsheet. So once I get this done, it'll be nice for me too. But it uses two functions called index and count A. So you can see here, I have this formula that's equals index, and it's the whole C row. And then it's saying count A, the whole C row. And what it does is when you set it up that way, it will look down the C column and it will pick essentially the very last value in that column. Okay. So I'm, for our purposes here today, just going to copy this cell and I'm going to just paste it in. But essentially all we're doing now, I'm going to have to make some modifications because I've got this in D, and those ones were marked as C. It didn't grab the whole formula for me either. Let's go back and see if we can grab that whole formula. So we'll have to change this to D's. No, it's still C. Okay, so index C, and the parentheses are very important on this as well. But if it's working all right, which it appears to be, Somehow this guy's left justified. We want to, because of the formatting from the other sheet, we just want to pull that value. Now, if we didn't want it to be in yellow like that, we can just go through and pick a different color. And so here you have the total number of tokens. Now, if I were to put a new value in here, say 5 million, now you see it's changed that because it's looking at that column and it's just taking the last value. Okay, 6.5 million, it's increasing here. If I were to delete this one out, it's going to take it back out. And of course, we've got these reflections counts over here that are building up. So to get our total token value now, all we have to do is a simple formula to multiply the price by the number of tokens. Okay, so there it's giving us our total. Okay, so a big move like this would probably represent an addition in our system. Say it's a big buy or something. So here I've created a column for buys and sells, and I'm going to go ahead and just shade in again a section of these to indicate that this is a place where we can type. If we type in these cells here, we're going to override the formula that's in the cell, and it's going to break that cell in the worksheet, so it doesn't give us an accurate tally. Looks like I need to plug in here. All right, saved by the charger. All right, and then at the bottom of this, I'm going to need to total these, and then what we'll do is just subtract them from our reflections total. Okay, now this cell here that shows us the total number of reflections. So on this bottom one, I'm going to go ahead and just put in a baseline so we know that's the typing area, and then down here at the bottom, we can even put in here that this is the total buys and sells. Okay, cells will go in as a negative number, but we'll do a simple sum formula, and then we'll just grab these cells here that we want to total up. Okay, and then you can see here that there's nothing in there, but in this particular case where I went from 1.4 million to 5 million, maybe we just tell it, well, hey, I bought 3 million. So here's 3 million. And you need to format these again so that they look like a number that is recognizable. We'll just use one that throws some commas into it for us. Okay, now if I had bought 3 million there, now I need to subtract them from this total. So what I'm going to do is just go in here and modify this and say we want to subtract. So we're adding up this whole column, and then we want to subtract any buys or sells. Okay, and that takes us down to you know, how many we have in reflections. Now our total token count, of course, is just going to be the sum total of all that we buy and sell. So let's say that the next day I actually go back and I sell 1 million of those. Things are going really well. Okay, now if you look at my reflections, they've gone to 0, and I've actually lost 1 million from yesterday. But if I were to come in here and tell the spreadsheet, and I'll put it in as a negative number, that, hey, I sold 1 million of these guys. Okay, now you can see it's back and has increased our reflections to basically total up everything that had come before that. And of course, with each one of these, I could just be writing in the date. You can do it whatever way is popular in your country. Some people write out the, you know, the month, and some people just put slashes, you know. So today is like 1/1/2022. Okay. So that would be my today's count. And this is just a reference, so you don't have to check them every single day. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to take out all of the information that is that I've input here, and we will leave all the formulas in, and you all will have access to this. Okay, I'll put a link in the description of this video. And if you have 6 or 7 tokens that you're tracking, just add a sheet. Okay, and I don't know what this one is. People have been telling me really hardcore that I need to be getting on the TARP train, but I'm looking at it. I haven't bought any. And as far as making content for it goes, I'm going to try to stay with things right now that are going to be listed on Saitamask, which is Saitama's new wallet that should be coming out next week. But just for this purposes, and you can go in and change it later, but say I call this one TARP. Okay, and I'm going to go back to Klee here, which is a blank slate. And if I click in this upper left box, it highlights the whole sheet. I can right click and say copy. And then if I go into TARP and I select this top cell, right click and paste, boom. Okay, I have a whole new reflections tracker, and I can call this one TARP. And you can go all the way across and do as many of these as you want, and it should work just fine. So day one, I'm starting with, let's see, there's 100,000. So there's 1 million. And then again, say day two, I pick up some additional coins here. Oh, there's 10,000, and it shows there's 10,000 in reflections. It's not showing a price here because I haven't put anything in, but let's say 0.0003. Okay, now it's showing there's $3 in reflections, and the total number of tokens I have is 1,010,000, and that would be worth $303 at this price. So you see how this works. Okay, now please know, I'm not a total expert with spreadsheets. I do have a degree in finance, and I do use spreadsheets in my job, but there's millions of functions that you can do in spreadsheets. They'll even go out, you can program it to go out and grab prices for things off the internet and bring it into the sheet. For today, I'm keeping it kind of basic, and you can just bop out, you pick your project that you're following, get the price, input it into this crypto tracker, and you're off and away. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just clear the values out of this spreadsheet, and I'll put it in the link in the description. You guys have at it, have fun, track all your tokens. Tell me how many ways I screwed this up, because I'm sure that it could be done better. But for now, it's just a way for you to track things. If you want to change colors on things, all you have to do is highlight the cells and click the little paint bucket and change your colors. Anything you want to do to customize it. All of these down here can be altered by right clicking and renaming. It's just for fun. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully 2022 is going to be insane. Those of us who are early to the crypto game, which if we're in right now, we are. Most people aren't investing in crypto. Hopefully 2022 sees a big influx of new investors into crypto. And those of us who've been poking around for the last year or two, hopefully this is our year to really make some major gains. Hey, I hope everybody's doing well. Happy New Year. Check back with me soon. We'll watch all of our stacks of everything grow together.